Assalamu alaikum, my name is Mufti Menk, and welcome to our peaceful sanctuary of guidance, wisdom, and inspiration. Here, we explore the signs of Allah's protection in your life, the strength that comes from solitude, and the blessings hidden in every closed door. Together, we will uncover how Allah removes those who do not deserve you, replaces the harmful with the sincere, and guides you with the silent warnings of the heart. You will discover the gift of peace after pain, and how every moment of loneliness, every heartbreak, and every trial is a chance to grow closer to Him. If you've ever wondered why your heart feels unsettled, why certain people leave, or why peace follows hardship, you're in the right place. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to join our journey of faith, trust, and divine protection. Your heart will never walk alone again. Sometimes in life, a person will walk away from you without warning. A friend you thought would be there forever stops calling. Someone you trusted deeply begins to drift away. A relationship you prayed for suddenly collapses. In those moments, the heart feels heavy, confused, and abandoned. You may question yourself. What did I do wrong? Why did they change? Why did Allah let this happen? But the truth is, this is not rejection. It is not a punishment. It is protection, even if you cannot see it yet. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, knows the hearts you cannot see. He knows the intentions people hide, the harm they are capable of, and the betrayal they might one day cause. Sometimes He removes someone because they would have taken you further from Him. Sometimes He takes them away because their presence, though sweet now, would poison your soul later. What you see as loss is often a divine shield around your heart. You might feel like clinging to what is leaving you, trying to hold on tightly. But imagine a child holding on to a burning coal because it glows beautifully. The parent will pull it away forcefully, even if the child cries, because they see the pain it would cause. This is how Allah removes people from your life, out of love and mercy. Your tears may fall now, but your future self will thank Him for saving you from a wound you never had to feel. Sometimes Allah allows people to reveal their true nature just enough for you to let them go. You may notice small acts of dishonesty, subtle disrespect, or growing distance. And while your heart longs to believe the best, Allah places those signs before you so you don't walk blindly into harm. These moments are not meant to break your trust in others, but to strengthen your trust in Him. We must understand that not every loss is a tragedy. In fact, one of the greatest mercies from Allah is when He removes from your life those who would damage your soul, your peace, or your faith. Some people may be beautiful in appearance, charming in words, or comforting in presence, but their inner influence could lead you away from what is pure, and Allah loves you too much to let that happen. You might not see the reason immediately. It could be months or even years later when you finally look back and say, Alhamdulillah, that this person is no longer in my life. Perhaps their path took them toward dishonesty, arrogance, or betrayal. Perhaps they chose choices that would have pulled you into darkness with them, but Allah separated you before you could be touched by their choices. When a person leaves, the heart naturally feels empty. But Allah never leaves a space empty without the intention to fill it with something better. That better might be a more sincere friend, a more trustworthy companion, or simply more peace in your own heart. Sometimes the gift He gives you is not another person, but the strength to stand on your own with dignity and reliance on Him alone. And know this, those who are meant for you will never need to be chased. What is written for you will always be brought to you by Allah's will, but if He writes that someone must leave, no force in the world can keep them. This is why we must hold every human relationship in our hands lightly, but hold our relationship with Allah tightly. Because people will come and go, but He will remain. It is also important to remember that Allah sees the conversations you never heard, the intentions people never showed, and the harm that was being planned without your knowledge. You may think someone left you without reason, but Allah's reason is always there. He protects His servants in ways they cannot imagine. Sometimes that protection feels like a heartbreak, but in reality, it is a rescue. Instead of asking, why did they leave? Ask, what is Allah teaching me through this? Every removal is also a redirection. It is Allah guiding you toward a safer, purer, more blessed path. It is His way of making sure your journey remains one that leads to Jannah. And if you think about it, the people who truly belong in your life are those who bring you closer to Him, not further away. So, if you are in a season where people are leaving, do not see it as your world falling apart. See it as Allah rearranging your world for your protection. Be grateful even through the pain, because His plan is always better than your desire. And one day, when you see what He saved you from, your heart will whisper, Alhamdulillah. Sometimes, losing someone is the most loving thing Allah can do for you. And when He takes something away, it is only because He plans to replace it with something far better for your soul, your peace, and your faith. May your heart always trust the one who writes your story, even in the chapters where people leave. There are moments in life when the pain feels endless, a heartbreak, a betrayal, a loss so deep that you wonder if your heart will ever beat the same again. You lie awake at night, your mind replaying memories, your soul weighed down by the heaviness of what has been broken. And yet, somewhere in the quiet, after the tears have fallen and your voice has grown tired from calling out in the darkness, a strange calm begins to settle. It is gentle, it does not announce itself, and it is not something you can force. It is the gift of peace after pain, and it comes only when Allah decides it is time to heal your heart. This peace is not the absence of memories, nor is it pretending the wound never happened. It is a divine stillness placed deep within your chest, where the chaos once lived. You might look back on what hurt you, but it no longer shakes you the same way. You might remember the loss, but it no longer feels like a knife. This is not your doing. It is Allah's mercy covering you like a blanket in the cold. Often before this peace comes, there is a storm. The storm of sleepless nights, unanswered questions, and the endless search for closure that never arrives. You think you must understand why it happened before you can move forward, but Allah's healing does not require your understanding. It requires your surrender. When you say, Ya Allah, I leave this in your hands, you are not giving up, you are letting go. And it is in that letting go that He begins to pour peace into the spaces where pain once lived. You may have thought your heart was too shattered to ever feel light again, but Allah is the one who revives the dead earth after it has been barren, and He can revive your spirit in the same way. The same heart that was once heavy with grief will one day feel light enough to smile without force, to breathe without struggle, to look at the sky and feel hope again. This is His promise, for He says in the Quran, Verily, with hardship comes ease. That ease does not always arrive instantly. Sometimes Allah allows the wound to remain for a while, not to punish you, but to soften you, to draw you closer to Him. Pain has a way of breaking the arrogance in us, of making our du'as more sincere, of opening our hearts to the reality that we are powerless without Him. And once the lesson has been learned, once your heart has been cleansed of the things that kept you from Him, He sends peace not as a fleeting comfort, but as a permanent companion that lives in your chest. This peace is different from the distractions the world offers. The world will tell you to fill your pain with noise, more people, more things, more busyness, but Allah's peace is quiet, deep, and unshakable. It is the kind of peace that allows you to sit alone and feel complete. It is the kind of peace that makes you grateful for the very pain that once made you cry, because now you can see what it led you to. Sometimes you will realize that the peace you feel is not because the problem disappeared, but because Allah changed your heart's relationship to it. You still remember the hardship, but you no longer carry it like a weight. You still have the scars, but they no longer ache. He teaches you that no wound is permanent when it is placed in His hands, and you will see this peace most clearly in the small moments. The first time you laugh without it feeling forced. The first time you sleep through the night without waking to thoughts of what happened. The first time you look at the person or the place that caused you pain, and your heart remains steady. That is Allah's mercy. That is His way of telling you, I have healed you enough to keep walking. Do not underestimate the value of this peace. It is a gift more precious than answers, because answers satisfy the mind, but peace soothes the soul. It is better than revenge, because revenge keeps you tied to the pain, while peace frees you from it. It is better than having things return to how they were, because it means you have grown into someone stronger, wiser, and more anchored in faith. When you receive this peace, hold on to it by holding on to Allah. Continue turning to Him in gratitude, not just in pain. Remember the nights you cried and the mornings you woke up wondering if you could make it through the day. Remember how He carried you here. Let that memory keep your heart humble and your soul close to Him. If you are still waiting for this peace to come, do not lose hope. Allah has not forgotten you. He hears the dua you whisper in your tears. He knows the ache that words cannot describe, and He is preparing your heart to receive something greater than you are asking for, because His peace is not just the end of your pain, it is the beginning of a new chapter where your trust in Him becomes unshakable. May your heart be filled with that peace, and may it never leave you until it leads you all the way to Jannah. There are moments when nothing around you seems obviously wrong, and yet your heart feels uneasy. You cannot explain it. You have no evidence, no clear reason, but something deep inside whispers that all is not well. This is not weakness, nor is it paranoia. It is one of the most subtle forms of protection Allah places within His servants. The silent warnings of the heart. It is guidance without words, a shield you cannot see, and a mercy that comes before harm ever reaches you. Allah, in His perfect knowledge, sees every detail of what lies ahead. He knows what is hidden from you, the conversations you will never hear, the intentions behind smiles, the thoughts that never leave someone's mind. When something is not good for you, He may send that quiet discomfort, that small voice inside that says, be careful here. This is not to make you fearful of the world, but to make you more reliant on Him, to teach you to pause before stepping forward. The heart of a believer is not just a vessel for emotions. It is a place where faith resides, and where Allah can plant warning signs without any visible proof. Sometimes it is a sudden heaviness when you are about to make a choice. Sometimes it is a quiet feeling that a person's words are not matching their intentions. Other times it comes as a lack of peace in situations that look perfect on the outside. This is why the Prophet advised us to seek guidance from our hearts when something feels doubtful. Too often, people ignore this inner warning because they are afraid of seeming unreasonable or judgmental. They want to believe the best in everyone, and while that is noble, it should never come at the expense of ignoring the protection Allah is giving you. The same way you would not walk into a room filled with smoke just because you cannot yet see the fire, you should not walk into a situation that your heart is warning you about just because you cannot yet see the harm. There will be times when you only understand the warning later. You will look back and say, now I see why I felt that way. You may discover that the person you kept a distance from had bad intentions, or that the opportunity you hesitated to take would have led you into trouble. That is when you realize that Allah's mercy was with you before you even knew you needed it. This inner guidance is not random. It is often the result of a heart that stays connected to Allah through dua, salah, and remembrance. The more you remember Him, the more He refines your perception, allowing you to sense what is harmful even without visible evidence. This is why some people seem to have a stronger intuition. They are not special by nature, but they are attentive to the signs Allah gives them, and they do not brush them aside. When this feeling comes, it is not always a sign to run away immediately. Sometimes it is Allah telling you to slow down, to observe more, to make istikhara before making a decision. It is a reminder that you should not rush when the heart is unsettled. In this fast world, people are quick to move, to act, to commit without reflection. But the believer understands that haste is from Shaitan and caution is from Allah. Ignoring this inner warning can lead to regret. You may convince yourself that you are imagining things, that your unease is just fear, and so you proceed. Later, when harm comes, you remember that Allah gave you that moment of hesitation as a gift, but you turned away from it. This is why we must treat the heart's silent warning as seriously as any visible sign. It is also important to remember that this feeling does not come to instill arrogance or suspicion without reason. It is not a license to judge others harshly, but rather a call to protect yourself. You can be cautious without being cruel, distant without being cold. The believer maintains good character while still guarding their heart from harm. Sometimes this warning is not about people at all, but about your own actions. You may feel a subtle discomfort before making a choice that would distance you from Allah, even if no one else would see it as wrong. It could be skipping a prayer for something trivial, speaking words you know might hurt someone, or going to a place where your faith would be tested. That unease is a reminder that your heart is still alive, that Allah is still pulling you back before you go too far. When you feel this inner nudge, turn to Allah in dua. Ask Him, Ya Allah, if this is good for me, open my heart to it. If it is harmful, turn it away from me. Trust that He will guide your steps even if you do not understand the path yet. Many times your heart will find peace only after He has moved you away from the danger, even if at first you were reluctant to leave. This silent guidance is one of the most beautiful signs that Allah is watching over you. It shows that He cares not just about saving you from harm you can see, but also from harm that hides in shadows. He is protecting your peace, your dignity, and your faith before anything else. May you always listen to that quiet voice, for it may be Allah's way of keeping you safe from a storm you will never have to face. There are times in life when you have your heart set on something, and everything seems to be going in the right direction. You plan, you prepare, you dream, and you are almost there. Then suddenly, without warning, the door closes. It could be a job you thought was perfect, a friendship you believed would last forever, or a relationship you prayed would lead to marriage. In that moment, confusion fills your mind. You wonder why Allah would let you come so far only to take it away. But what you see as rejection is often divine protection. When a door closes, it is not always because you were unworthy. It may be because what was behind it would have harmed you in ways you could not imagine. Allah, in His complete knowledge, sees beyond the surface. He sees the truth that is hidden from you. The opportunity you thought was a blessing might have been a test that would weaken your faith. The relationship you wanted might have been the cause of heartbreak greater than the one you feel now. The path you were eager to walk might have led you far from Him. Out of His mercy, He closes doors to save you from a storm you cannot yet see. We often believe that open doors are a sign of success, but in reality, some open doors lead to harm. And in the same way, we assume closed doors are failures, when in truth, they may be the greatest blessings of our lives. Think of the times in your past when something you desperately wanted did not happen, and now, looking back, you are grateful. That is how Allah works. He knows the ending before you take the first step, and He redirects you before you walk into harm. Sometimes when Allah closes a door, it hurts more because it happens suddenly. You may not even have the chance to say goodbye to the people involved or to complete what you started. But this suddenness is also mercy. The longer you stay in a harmful situation, the more damage it can do to your heart, your peace, and your connection to Allah. By removing you quickly, He spares you from deeper pain. This is why we must trust Him, even in confusion. Your heart might not understand the reason now, but faith means believing that Allah's decisions are always for your good, even when they don't match your plans. He says in the Quran, "But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you, and Allah knows while you know not." A closed door is not the end, it is the redirection to something better. Sometimes that better will appear quickly, and other times you will wait. But in both cases, you are being moved toward what will nourish your soul and protect your deen. And often, Allah uses these moments to teach you patience and to remind you that true reliance should be on Him, not on people or opportunities. The pain of a closed door can also purify the heart. When you turn to Allah in sadness and say, "Ya Allah, I don't understand, but I trust you," you are strengthening your bond with Him. You are showing that your faith is not dependent on getting what you want, but on believing that He always wants what is best for you. There will also be times when a door remains closed because you are not yet ready for what is behind it. Allah may withhold something now so that when it comes later, you can receive it with wisdom, gratitude, and the strength to handle it. If it came too early, it could harm you instead of benefiting you. His timing is perfect, not early, not late, but exactly when it will be best for you. And sometimes, a closed door is simply the answer to your dua for protection. How many times have we prayed, "Ya Allah, keep me away from harm"? We imagine harm as something visible and obvious, but sometimes it hides behind something that looks beautiful. So when Allah closes the door, He is answering your prayer in the most merciful way. The believer learns to see a closed door not as a loss, but as a sign that Allah is watching over them. It is a call to say, "Alhamdulillah," even when the heart is hurting, to trust that what is meant for you will never be blocked, and what is not meant for you will never be yours, no matter how much you chase it. One day, you will look back on every closed door and realize it was never truly closed. It was simply opening the way to something else, something greater, something that brought you closer to Allah. That realization will make you grateful for every no you received, every rejection you endured, and every ending you thought would break you. May your heart always be at peace with the doors Allah closes, knowing that His protection is hidden in the very moments you feel most disappointed. There are seasons in life when the noise fades, the people disappear, and you find yourself alone. At first, it feels heavy, almost unbearable. You wonder why those you cared for are no longer close, why your circle has grown smaller, why your days feel quieter than they used to. Loneliness can settle over the heart like a shadow, making you believe you have been forgotten. But what feels like abandonment from people is often attention from Allah. He draws you into solitude not to punish you, but to prepare you. In a world filled with constant voices, endless distractions, and countless opinions, it becomes easy to lose yourself in the noise. Solitude strips that away. When you are alone, you are no longer performing for anyone, no longer trying to meet the expectations of others. It is just you and your thoughts, and if you allow it, just you and Allah. In that stillness, you begin to see who you truly are, and more importantly, you begin to see who Allah wants you to become. It is in solitude that sincerity is tested. When there is no one to praise you, will you still pray? When there is no one to watch, will you still open the Quran and reflect on its words? When no one is there to appreciate your kindness, will you still choose to be gentle and just? These are questions that only solitude can answer, and the answers shape the core of your faith. The Prophet himself experienced long periods of solitude before his mission began. He would retreat to the cave of Hira, away from the noise of society, to reflect and connect with his Creator. And it was in that quiet isolation that the first words of revelation descended. This reminds us that solitude is not emptiness. It can be the birthplace of clarity, strength, and purpose. Many times, Allah removes people from your life so that your dependence shifts from them to Him. You may have leaned on friends for comfort, on family for support, or on certain relationships for your sense of worth. But when they are gone, you are left with only one constant Allah. And in that realization, you begin to discover a strength you did not know you had, because it is no longer your strength. It is His strength carrying you. In solitude, the heart becomes purer. Away from the influences of others, you are less likely to be swayed by peer pressure, less distracted by the competition for status or approval. Your intentions become clearer. You begin to do things purely for the sake of Allah, without the need for recognition. This purification is a gift, because the more sincere your heart becomes, the more it can receive guidance. It is also in solitude that you learn patience. When there is no one around to fill the hours, you learn to sit with yourself. You learn to slow down, to breathe, to appreciate the smallest of blessings, a warm meal, the sound of rain, the health to stand in prayer. These moments, though simple, train the heart to be content, and contentment is one of the greatest treasures a believer can have. Yet, solitude is not always peaceful at first. The quiet can make the mind restless. Old wounds can surface. Regrets, mistakes, and painful memories may come back to you, but even this is mercy. Allah allows these thoughts to rise so that you can finally face them, seek His forgiveness, and let go of what has been weighing you down. This is how solitude becomes healing. It forces you to deal with what you have been avoiding. And in time, you realize that solitude is not about being without people. It is about being without distractions. You can be surrounded by a crowd and still feel lonely, and you can be physically alone yet feel completely full because your heart is with Allah. The closer you draw to Him in these moments, the more you realize that true companionship is found in His presence. When the heart reaches this understanding, loneliness transforms into strength. You are no longer afraid of being alone, because you know you are never truly alone. You are no longer desperate for the wrong people to return, because you trust that Allah will send the right ones when the time is right. And even if they never come, you are at peace, because your contentment no longer depends on anyone but Him. If you are in a season of solitude right now, do not see it as emptiness, see it as construction. Allah is building you, shaping you, and preparing you for the next chapter of your life. What feels like stillness is actually growth. What feels like silence is actually a conversation between your soul and its Creator. May your solitude be filled with light, and may it lead you to a closeness with Allah that you would never have found in the noise. There are moments in life when you feel surrounded by people, yet your heart feels completely alone. You smile, you nod, you carry conversations, but deep inside, something tells you that not everyone around you is meant to stay. Sometimes, Allah allows people to drift away from you, not because you are unworthy, but because He sees the harm you cannot see. He knows the whispers that never reach your ears, the envy hidden behind certain smiles, the ill intentions concealed beneath polite words. He knows what is spoken about you in your absence, the plans plotted without your knowledge, and the weight of energies that would crush your peace if they remained close. And so, in His mercy, He removes them. It may hurt at first. You may wonder why someone you trusted turned distant, why a friend you relied upon suddenly withdrew, why a connection you valued ended without warning. But in those moments, remind yourself that Allah is the best of planners, and His protection often comes in the form of removal. When Allah takes away, He does not leave your heart empty. He replaces the harmful with the sincere. He surrounds you with those whose presence is a blessing, not a burden. These are the people who remind you of Allah without even trying, whose words bring peace instead of anxiety, whose hearts carry no jealousy or hidden agendas. Their love for you is pure because it is for the sake of Allah, and that love becomes a shield that guards you against harm. When you find such people, you will notice that they never compete with you in worldly matters. They do not belittle your achievements, nor do they take pleasure in your struggles. Instead, they celebrate your joys as if they were their own, and they hold your hand firmly in moments of trial. Sometimes, Allah will remove 10 people from your life, only to send you one person whose sincerity outweighs them all. One person whose dua for you is more valuable than the empty praise of a crowd. One person whose company makes you remember your worth in the sight of Allah, not in the eyes of the world. This is a mercy beyond measure. But to receive such a gift, your heart must first be cleansed of attachments to those who were never meant to protect it. You see, not everyone who is kind to you is a friend, and not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. This is why the Prophet taught us to seek Allah's protection from the envy of the envious when they envy, from the evil of the whisperer when he whispers, and from every harm, seen or unseen, that could reach us. And part of that protection is having your circle refined by the one who knows your soul best. Cherish those whom Allah sends to you in sincerity. They may not always say the most poetic words or have the most impressive presence, but their honesty, their prayers for you in private, their silent concern for your well-being, these are priceless. They will stand by you when you have nothing to offer but your truth. They will speak up for you in rooms where you are not present. They will protect your dignity when others try to tarnish it. They will not let the poison of gossip reach you without standing in the way. And they will hold you accountable with gentleness when you stray, because their love is not for your comfort, but for your salvation. Allah knows how fragile the heart can be, how easily it can be bruised by careless words and false companionship. So when He sends you people who uplift your faith, who encourage you toward goodness, who remind you that your worth is not defined by your past mistakes, but by your connection to Him, hold them close. Thank Allah for them often, and be that source of mercy for them as well. Sometimes you will only realize years later that someone in your life was a shield for you. You will look back and remember moments when you were on the edge of making a harmful choice, and that person's advice or presence pulled you back. You will remember a time when they made dua for you without you even knowing, and that dua became the reason you found ease after hardship. You will recall instances when they defended you in your absence, protecting your name from harm, and in that moment you will understand that they were not there by accident. They were placed by Allah exactly where and when you needed them most. It is a blessing to be surrounded by the right people, but it is also a responsibility. Just as Allah protects you by sending them, He may use you as a means of protection for someone else. Perhaps your kind word will save them from despair, your dua will shield them from harm, your presence will guide them back to Allah, when they are lost. This is why relationships built on sincerity and faith are never one-sided. They are bonds woven by divine wisdom, held together by mutual remembrance of Allah, and strengthened by trials that only make the connection purer. So, if you are in a season where people are leaving your life, do not cling to what Allah is taking away. Trust that He removes for a reason, and that His replacements are always better for your soul. And when He sends those replacements, those people whose presence feels like shade on a hot day, like calm after a storm, cherish them deeply. Do not take their sincerity for granted because it is rare. Protect them in the same way they protect you. Pray for them in the same way they pray for you. And above all, thank Allah for surrounding you with a mercy that protects not just your body, but your heart and your faith. The ones Allah keeps in your life are not there by chance. They are your shield, your mercy, and your quiet answer to prayers you didn't even realize you were making. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, Allah's protection surrounds you even when you cannot see it. Hold close the ones who uplift your faith. Trust His timing and cherish the peace He places in your heart. If you found guidance in this video, give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more wisdom, inspiration, and heartfelt reminders. Until next time, may Allah protect you, guide you, and fill your life with mercy. Ameen.